Good evening, everyone. The time is 7 o'clock, and we will call our meeting to order. Please stand as we do our Pledge of Allegiance. Republic for which it stands. Ms. Evans, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Evans.
Present.
Mr. Henderson.
Present.
Ms. Ionetti.
Present.
Mr. Kessler.
Present.
Dr. Levinowitz.
Present.
Mrs. Sherpier. Mr. Sirota.
Present.
Mr. Wallach.
Present.
Dr. Davis.
Present.
All present. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I want to welcome everyone to our legislative meeting. Just a reminder that this meeting is the formal meeting where items are voted upon by the entire board. Usually all the items have been discussed in our committee meetings. If there are items that are being voted on this evening that were not discussed in the committee level, please bring that to everyone's attention. We will continue to follow our agenda as printed. And that's why we are so efficient in our meetings. So I see Ms. Young. Can you please come and share the Student Government Association report?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Davis. With the warmer weather and more time with the sun, students at our high school have been continually working hard and reaching new accomplishments. The theater department has once again pulled off another amazing musical, Percy Jackson, with incredible anticipation and ticket sales. The cast and crew all did amazing preparing for the 3 nights. We congratulate all the students involved and thank Ms. Garani and the supporting staff for all their hard work and dedication. Continuing through Women's History Month, the Gender Equality Club recently held a panel of students to celebrate the occasion. Our student panelists shared their experience with gender inequality as well as racism as minorities. There was a great show out and it was such an inspiring occasion. Thank you to our student panelists, the GEC board, and Mrs. Jonas for her support. The SGA is also actively showing support for the current tragic events of our world today. Taking action alongside student advocates, we are continually collecting donation items for refugee relief in Ukraine. Necessary items such as first aid supplies, dry foods, storage bags, and hygiene products are all being collected. With donation boxes in alcoves during homeroom and in the cafeteria for lunches, we are collecting until the 31st. So we hope to be able to do our part as supporters. As we come to a close end of not only March, but almost our 3rd marking period, we are so excited for what the last quarter has in store for us. Continually seeking success, whether academic, athletic, or artistic, our students are ready to take it on. Seniors especially are thrilled to hear that a series of special events, such as prom, graduation, and the annual class trip to Disney is creeping up on us. Thank you all for listening and have an excellent night.
Thank you. Again, it's always a pleasure to hear what's happening, all the exciting events at the high school. And I know Dr. Yanni, when he shares his report, he will continue to share some of the items that have been going on. Before I turn it over to him, on behalf of the board, we wanted to congratulate our superintendent for being named the 2022 recipient of the Patricia J. Cregan Award from Pennsylvania's Education for All Coalition. He received the award this weekend, and this award is given annually to an educational professional who demonstrates outstanding commitment to inclusive education. And so we are very proud that you received this award. And we congratulate you, as well as say a big thank you for everything that you do as the leader of our district and for all you do for our students. So on that, congratulations.
Thank you, everyone. And just like everything we do here, it's a team effort. So I want to thank the executive leadership team, our larger leadership team, the board, and our entire one team, which is our staff. And also to our students. We educate over 4,000 amazing students every day here. There are a couple things on the agenda tonight that I'd like to bring your attention to. Our current enrollment sits at 4,081 students, an increase of 131 students from last year. As an aside, but I think an important one, we're projected to have 315 students next year in kindergarten, and as of Friday, we had about 50% or 157 incoming kindergarten students fully registered. So registration remains ongoing, and we also have registration open for grades 1 through 12 as well. There are two policies tonight that we're asking the board to consider for approval. 236.1 is the policy on threat assessments. This is a new policy that is the result of some legislation at the state level. When students may exhibit that they are a threat to themselves, other students, or they make a threat that could harm themselves, other students, or the community, there is a process that we are now required to go through. And if you read our policy, one of the things we're taking great care in is making sure that we don't create any additional trauma for students when we work through those threat assessments. Our continued equity and empowerment work is reflected in policy 827. The policy addresses the barriers or supports us in identifying the barriers that exist and remove those barriers so that we can provide access, equitable access for all students to not only rigorous instruction, but to co-curricular and extracurriculars as well. And one of the things we talked about at the last meeting, and I don't think I caught it when we were looking at the policy, the word religion was omitted from the policy. So when we get there, that's a non-substantive change. We'll add the word religion. We have a number of student celebrations. Our senior, Elizabeth Zhang, has been named a 2022 Coca-Cola Scholar. She's one of only 150 high school seniors from across the state chosen from a pool of over 68,000 students. She earns a $20,000 scholarship for her leadership service and academics, and we sent out a press release. One of the things that she talked about is how she's already been able to network with other Coca-Cola scholars. Megan DeMartile is a four-time state title winner for swimming. She took the fourth straight PIAA gold medal last week in the 100-yard backstroke. So 4 gold medals. It's a wonderful achievement. Again, I want to congratulate everyone that was part of the Lightning Thief, whether the students were on the stage or they were backstage. Everyone really pulled together, and it was great to see a full house as well. All 3 of our shows, or 4 of our shows, were well attended. Even the Saturday afternoon show we thought was going to get a little hampered with weather. We are partnering, or we have partnered with the Montgomery County branch of the National Alliance on Mental Illness. They have been working in our high school, presenting a program called Ending the Silence to our seniors by homeroom. The program focuses on warning signs of mental health conditions and what steps kids can take to help navigate through that if they're experiencing anything. And we feel that seniors it was particularly important for us to share this information with seniors, as many of them will be going away to college or school next year. And our marching Cardinals were inducted into the WRTI Sousa Alarm Clock on Tuesday. Every morning, a march from John Philip Sousa is played to wake up the audience, and our marching band was nominated by a local physician who remarked how much he enjoys hearing our marching Cardinals play. So it's a fun shout out for our band, so congratulations to our marching Cardinals. On the board agenda tonight, there are a number of retirements at the high school. Dr. Kim Callahan, assistant principal, and Mr. Ken Smith, a custodian, both longtime employees of the district, and we wish them well as they move into retirement. and Ms. Sarah Feather, supervisor of special education at the elementary level, is also retiring this summer. Sarah was an instructional assistant for the district. She was a special ed teacher, left the district for a while and got some administrative experience at Happer Horsham. And then the last couple of years, she has returned as a supervisor for us. This coming Saturday evening, we have the class of 2021 Upper Dublin High School Alumni Hall of Fame. There will be 18 distinguished guests. There will be a dessert reception and then a brief presentation of all 18 of our distinguished alumni. Next week, next Monday night, there is another installment of Be Part of the Conversation, Kids in the Tech Life Balance. There will be information that will go home this week from each of our buildings with registration for the event. It's an online event. We're moving closer and closer to the substantial completion of Sandy Run Middle School. When my superintendent report goes out tonight, there are a number of pictures. We've been through the building several times, and the cleaners have been there in areas of the building. Furniture is being installed, and so in just a few weeks, we'll be at that point of substantial completion. And finally, the Upper Dublin Education Foundation, in lieu of Monte Carlo night, is doing another UD Mission Possible, April 7th through 12th, and there's information that will go out. It's already been circulated, but we'll circulate it again for you to create teams and participate in this fun community event. That ends my report.
Thank you, Dr. Yanni. And we always look forward to seeing it when you send it out to the community. I must say it was really fun for me to actually watch our swimmers on PCN. And it's run several times. So, you know, I've kind of gotten the order, so I kind of know when to like tune in and see those kids swimming. It was really fun, and congratulations to them. You know, particularly, you know, it wasn't an easy start for the year, and to think how they really made the best of it. So it was a lot of fun. So if you haven't seen it, check PCN. They keep showing it. So. At this time, we have an opportunity for public participation. Please come to the mic if you would like to make a comment. This time is for action items and presentations included on this agenda only. You can state your name. I see you're ready. State your name and where you reside in the township. You know the drill.
Yeah.
And Ms. Evans, if you can please keep the time for us for the 4 minutes. And as always, this is recorded.
Yes, Ginny Vitella Ambler. And I just want to piggyback on that. I was there. I know you guys all missed me at the finance meeting on Wednesday, but I was at Bucknell with the swimmers.
I was looking for you.
People sent some screenshots of me in the stands. But it was super exciting. And not only is this first place win by Megan, I believe it's got to be historic of some sort. I don't know how far you have to go back, but to be the state champ, individual state champ, 4 years in a row is unbelievable, and I get goosebumps even talking about it. It's just really amazing, and the swimmers really did a great job. It was a great 2 days. So I'm glad you sat and watched it. It is exciting. It was even more exciting to be there. So on a more serious thing, I have to agree. I did watch some of the tape on Wednesday. You know, I can't stay away too long. And I have to agree with Andy. I know that not everyone's always thrilled when I agree with them. But Whistler-Pearlstein agreement, I mean, I think you mentioned that it was 40 years, and I do think it's probably time for a change. No offense, Mr. Diazio, for you at all, but it seems like it's been too long, especially since it sounded like it's been since 2016. We even looked at another law firm, and since then, I think we've lost 2 cases in ADA compliance. And like Andy, I would also like to know what we are out of pocket in legal fees for this current year and last year, and where that is posted, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anita Brister, Fort Washington. Just a couple, well, first, a couple brief comments on the equity audit. I said at a previous meeting, I don't know exactly what I said, but I think I said something to the effect of I didn't like it very much because I think policies should be really clear and really concise, and this one is totally not. That being said, you're probably going to pass it, and I'm glad you're adding religion. And a related issue to me is I don't believe we've seen the results of the equity audit, unless I totally missed it and it was presented at some meeting. So I guess a related question is, was it presented? If not, when will it be presented? I think somebody said at a previous meeting, this policy supposedly came out of Pennsylvania School Board Association, but I was just wondering, was there something in the equity audit that were the results making you feel like you needed to put this policy together? So it's just a related question. Where is that equity audit? I thought it was done a year ago, but I don't know when it was presented. I'm just going to get tricky here. I'm going to say something about retirements, but it's really about budget. And my feeling is that budget is on every legislative meeting, therefore I can mention budget. If you want me to wait, I will, but I'm going to say the question, and then you can decide if you don't want to answer it. At the budget town hall, I brought up that there's usually a lot of savings when you have a lot of retirements. And I have a bunch of finance stuff at home, so I don't remember what year, but it either had to be 2020 or 2021. And Andy had put in that budget 400, a marker, well, at some point, it might have been, April or May, that there was approximately $400,000 saved that year from retirements. But when I brought up savings at the budget town hall, and maybe I misunderstood the answer, but Dr. Yanni, I thought you said you didn't expect that much savings this year. And I don't know what, I don't know. I'm not asking for an exact number, but I'm not clear why we wouldn't. There's always savings when there's a lot of retirements. And from what I've seen the last couple personnel reports, there's a good number of retirements. So I just would like clarity on that, because I think you said our class sizes are really small, which is, I don't have a problem with that, but they've been really small for like 15 years. So why did you say you didn't expect a lot of savings from retirements? Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'll close community input. Dr. Yanni?
Mr. Leckman, do we have a total for legal services?
It's broken down to a number of different categories. So we receive quarterly bills. Year to date, for the bills received, it's a little over $46,000. Last year, it was just under $100,000.
One of the things that is different about the current administration versus previous administrations, when we collaborate with a solicitor on an issue, we keep record of all of that. And so unlike perhaps in the past when administrators would keep going out to the solicitor to ask the same questions, we've done our due diligence. And so we are not expending the amount of legal fees as was perhaps done in the past. And that's not a slight against previous administrators, it's just the way that our administrative team works. Regarding the equity policy and the equity audit, we will be presenting the equity audit at the April Education Committee meeting, and there will absolutely be savings from retirements. If I recall correctly, and I'll go back and I'll look at the YouTube video, but what I said during that event was, given the number of students coming to us out of early intervention and the significant and substantial needs that they have, I believe that the majority of those savings will be consumed by additional staff and additional services that we have to provide for those students. We have a number of medically fragile students and a number of students coming to us with more significant needs than we've had in the past.
Okay, thank you for answering those questions. Are there any other announcements or communications?
I just wanted to make the comment, we work with more than one law firm, correct? I don't think the public was clear on that based on their comments.
Do you want to?
Yes, so we work with Whistler Pearlstein on general legal issues and also on construction contracts. A few years ago, we made the switch to Sweet Stevens for special education matters.
Thank you, Ms. Ionetti. That was an important point. Again, are there any other announcements or communications, Mr. Leckman?
I do not have any this evening.
Okay. Very good. We have to approve the minutes of the February 28th, 2022 legislative meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Also included in the agenda are the minutes approved by the committees. This is an information item. The minutes were approved for the February 2nd Education Committee, the February 2nd Policy Committee meeting, as well as the February 23rd Finance Committee, and those are included in the agenda. Education Committee, curriculum recommendations, Mrs. Sherpier.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Davis. Item A is just for information. We noted that there are, I think, 5 new students in the district. Then I'd like to take item B through E together and make a motion for the adoption of the AP textbooks.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions on the motion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And then we have 2 other items, student activities and conferences. It's exciting that we have in-person activities coming up again. So I'd like to make a motion to approve these 2 items, F and G, as listed.
E, F and G. Okay, we have student activities and the conferences. There's been a first by Mrs. Sherpier. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ms. Ionetti. Are there any questions or comments on F or G? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any
Dr. Davis, if I may.
Yeah.
I'm going to abstain from the motion on items F and G to avoid any appearance of any possible conflict of interest given one of the items listed in both items F and G. I abstain.
Okay, thank you. Okay, those motions are approved. Those items are approved. Ms. Sherpier, the Education Committee Student Services recommendations.
Yes, and here I'd like to take all items A, B, and C together. They are agreements, educational or service agreements, and an educational agreement. And I'd like to make a motion to approve all
Okay.
3.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions on the motion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Thank you. Next, we have our Finance Committee recommendations. Mr. Sirota.
Thank you. We have 13 items under the Finance Committee recommendations tonight. All except item G, our regular monthly payments, were discussed in detail at the Finance Committee. I'd also just like to call to the attention of the board under item D, we have the details of the agreement still pending final approval by the district solicitor, but but hopefully everyone has had a chance to review the wording of the agreement. I'll make that motion for all 13 items.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Evans. Are there any comments or questions on any of those items? Ms. Sharpier?
Do we have a date for that approval by or review by the solicitor? Yes. Mm-hmm.
As soon as we get notification from Mr. Diazio that that's done, we will make sure that the board is aware.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on any of the items? Okay, seeing none. All in favor of items A through M, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, thank you. Dr. Levinowitz, the personnel report recommendation.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. I'd like to make a motion to approve both items under personnel, items A and B.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? Thank you, Mr. Serrata. Any questions or comments on either of those items?
Before we vote, I'd like to just also congratulate three individuals that I know very well, Dr. Callahan, Ms. Feather, and Kenny Smith, and wish them all the very best. Sarah was with us much more than 4 years. I remember her years ago and her numerous responsibilities, and Dr. Callahan will be missed, and again, congratulations to all three.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, those in favor of A and B, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, those items pass. Okay, we are up to our policy committee recommendations. Mrs. Ionetti.
Yes, I'd like to take 13A and B together. And before we do that, I just want to thank everyone that worked on that equity policy. It started off with a team of volunteers, and I think the policy has teeth. It will really be impactful for students, and it's such a step in the right direction. So thank you for everyone who helped with that.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a motion to approve the second reading as well as the first reading on the policies listed. Any questions on the motion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Also included in your, with the agenda are the liaison committee reports. They are an information item for everyone. I don't know if any of the board members have any items they would like to highlight from their reports. Ms. Ionetti.
Thank you. We already thanked Dr. Yanni, or announced that, so I'm very happy about that. Willow Kaplan has been part of our equity committee, so on top of all the wonderful things she's doing at the high school, she took time to meet with the Equity and Empowerment Committee, and we're so happy that she won that award. I also, for the first year ever, the African American Black Student and Family is having a food truck festival April 21st, and everybody is welcome, so keep an eye out for that. And the Asian American Student and Family Club is sponsoring an art contest. The principals from each schools are sending out information about that, and that's new this year too. So I just want to draw everyone's attention to that. That's it.
Thank you. Is there anything else that needs to be highlighted? Thank you for highlighting new events, because oftentimes people aren't looking for them, so that's great. Okay, Mr. Diazio, the solicitor's report.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Davis.
The board met in executive session this evening, March 21st, 2022, prior to tonight's board meeting to discuss a number of matters of personnel involving the items that were on the agenda that the board acted on this evening, as well as a number of items related to administrator employment agreements.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Diazio. At this time, we're up to our second opportunity for community input on any topic. So once again, state your name and where you reside. Ms. Evans will continue to monitor the 4-minute time limit allowed for comments.
Geneva Tella Ambler, again, 2 times in 30 minutes. Speaking of these quick meetings, have we considered or talked about bringing back some of those presentations we had? I thought it was nice to acknowledge retirements in person, acknowledge athletes that performed in their sports and the list, and there was a whole presentation, also people in activities and everything else, and awards. And I think it'd be nice to kind of, again, bridge that gap between the community and the board. And those were always nice presentations. I remember back in the day when actually kids would come and actually present, like play their bass and play the band and do like juggling and all sorts of tricks that we would see at different, the elementary schools were working on. And it was, I thought it was a nice thing. I know it makes the meeting a little longer, but I think it's kind of a nice gesture to combine that with these meetings so we're not all business all the time. And I am very sad to hear about Dr. Kim Callahan. I sent her an email instantly upon reading that. When going through the agenda, she is awesome. I know her personally as well. I'm extra sad because it's my son's senior year next year, and I know Kim Callahan is instrumental in making sure all those kids have so many wonderful activities and memories. So I hope whoever replaces her, which won't be the same, but I'm hopeful, I'm sure they will be great, and they will continue those great traditions like Florida and other things. And I'm so grateful for her and all her hard work for Upper Dublin, and she will be missed for sure. The other thing I wanted to say was the final borrowing for Sandy Run, and almost done. That's the last $10 million all round. I know they're not exact. That brings us to $80 million. To pay that all back is $125 million. It's a lot of money. And I'm not convinced that it's going to stop. It's going to raise our ranking from a 5 to a 10, whether it's going to increase our PSSA scores that were abysmal last year. Of course, we know that's mostly because of virtual, but they're still not great. Whether it's going to stop the bullying, the fights, the vaping in the bathrooms, or kids that are completely and totally disrespectful to the teachers so that the kids that are actually trying to learn are unable to learn. There's a lot of problems going on at Sandy Run. I hear stories daily, and not just from my own student, but from other parents and other students, and there's some real concerns. And sadly, I don't think the $125 million is gonna fix those. I think there's other problems we have to address. And I hope to God, we do not make a plaque with the names of people that happen to be in charge at a moment when this building's done. Because $125 million takes everybody, 28,000 people in Upper Dublin to pay for. And we'll be paying this for many, many years to come. So I hope that plaque simply says, dedicated 2022, and thank you, taxpayers, because without you, we would not have this building. And let's start focusing on what we can do to help these kids. They can get a good education. Thank you.
Nita Brister. This wasn't on my original list, but if anybody wants to take my name off the plaque for Maple Glen Elementary, I'm fine with that because I was not on the board when that vote occurred. I was on the board when the building opened up. So my name's on a plaque that I had nothing to do with. Okay, so Dr. Yanni, thank you for your answer. Now I'm alarmed. I understand what you're saying, but I'm really alarmed. Because if there's several $100,000 in savings from retirements, but it's all going to be used up by more staff, I guess I'll just have to see how that plays out. But that seems like a big change from previous years, and I don't totally understand what's happening there. I have another follow-up from the town hall, the finance town hall. So I brought up the tax increase that I'm going by the fact that the only vote I've seen related to the tax increase was back in November, when the board did vote not to exceed the 3.4%. And I was at that meeting, and I always look for clues from the board at those kind of meetings. And not that my notes are all that conclusive, but the only real note I had from that meeting was that somebody made a comment, a board member made a comment, there's no reason to exceed the 3.4%. But what's notable is that at that meeting, nobody said, well, not only would I not want to exceed it, I would want to go way under it. Okay, so Dr. Yanni did clarify, I appreciate it, at the Finance Town Hall, that right now there's a 2% placeholder in our budget. But there's a lot of territory between 2%, 3.4%. I guess, and this is going to come off as a little bit of criticism, but I'm just going to say it. In almost every board agenda related to budget especially, one of your goals is transparency, and that's a very worthwhile goal. But the question I'm coming to is, March is just about over, so we've got April, you've got May. May, a proposed budget has to be out. It could be changed between May and June, I think, slightly. But the whole point of putting it out in May is for the public, right? For public consumption. So I guess what I'd like to know is, when do you think, will it be at the April finance meeting that you might start having that discussion? I mean, Dr. Yanni, you clearly said you are not happy with 3.4% and you're not recommending it, and Andy's not recommending that. I was thrilled to hear that, but you do realize we didn't hear it at any other meeting. So, and there was 2 people at the Finance Town Hall. We know who they were. Okay, so anyway, I guess what I'm saying is, could we get some clarity about what, usually, in the old days, we had a newspaper, okay? And they would put out in like February, here's what Upper Dublin's proposing. We as a community don't know what you're proposing. I'm thrilled that it's not 3.4%, but what is it? And could we get some clarity at the April finance meeting? Thanks.
There was a question about in-person recognitions and if we're going to do that. There will be this spring some recognition of our athletes and our scholars, as well as some opportunities to celebrate our staff members. And we'll actually be going back to 2020 and bringing 2020 to present. So I anticipate that starting to happen next month. I spoke with Dr. Ortiz about the concerns that were brought forward. I would encourage any parents that are also concerned to reach out to Dr. Ortiz. Dr. Ortiz is planning some in-person parent evenings, particularly for the 8th grade class, about transition to high school, but also behavior. I think I don't want to go point for point, but I don't want to paint our middle school as a middle school that is, riddled with issues, because I don't believe it is. There was a statement that there's some concern that students coming into the district from early intervention would, the supports and services that we'll need to provide for those students so that they can gain educational benefit will eat up any of the savings that we have from retirements. And that is a shift over what we're seeing from the past. I think there were a number of families that kept their children in early intervention an extra year. But there are a number, as I said before, medically fragile students that need one-on-one nurses or other support so that they can be educated here where they have the right to be educated. Regarding the tax increase, the vote in December or January, whenever we did that, is simply a procedural step. The trend in Upper Dublin, at least for the last 5 years, I'm looking at Mr. Sirota, 5 years, has been that the tax increase is below the Act 1 index. I don't think, well, I can say, based upon my conversations with all of the board members, I don't think anyone on the board would support a 3.4% tax increase. In fact, we are looking to go much lower. Regarding transparency, that's one of the reasons we did a budget town hall. And I'm sorry that more people didn't attend, but the reality is budget town halls didn't used to exist. They now exist, and I think having worked in multiple districts, the second district that I'm working in with Mr. Leckman, I can say that our finances are more transparent here than in really any other district that I've worked in. Mr. Leckman explains the budget in very easy to understand terms. All of his reports are in very easy to understand terms. We are transparent about the budget, I'll say that. And regarding the tax increase, as Mr. Leckman said, or put in his documents, there's a 2% placeholder. As we've said previously, in the April and May timeframe, we're able to pinpoint a little bit more accurately what enrollment's going to be, what staffing is going to be like, and so I anticipate having more concrete discussions about that at the April finance meeting. And looking back at my notes from the years that I've been here, that is when we've talked about, had more substantial conversations about a tax increase, if a tax increase is needed in the April timeframe.
Okay, any other comments from any members of the board? Mr. Sirota.
I just want to elaborate on the timeline for general fund budget discussions. And just to clarify something Dr. Yanni said, so this year we voted in November, at the November legislative meeting, for the opt-out resolution, which is early for us. I mean, we normally do that in December or January. This year, because the index was so high and we felt we had a comfort level with where budget was going, we were comfortable doing it that early, which I think should send a signal. The other thing is that in the past, so we may have had a number much earlier in the past, because in the past, beyond the last 5 years ago, we had to do, because we didn't take the opt-out resolution, we had to have a full preliminary budget. And that full preliminary budget had to have a tax increase number associated with it, because that's how it works. So at that point, which is usually probably January, I'd have to go back to confirm that, but I would say probably January, we would have actually had a number. So the reason we haven't had numbers the last few years is because we've taken the opt-out resolution for the last 5 years. We haven't had to have that conversation this early, and it would be very rare for us to have any number beyond whatever was in the preliminary budget as early as February, when we had the budget town hall, or really even March. April is really when we start nailing it down most of the time. So the reason we haven't expressed an opinion on it is because we just don't have all the information yet to express an opinion. So any opinion expressed now, I think, would be premature. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mrs. Sharpier.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on the comments about Sandy Run. I do believe that teaching and learning are by no means on hold until there's a new building. It's ongoing. And the new building will give opportunity for additional programming and opportunities for our students. But at this point, I don't think it's fair to say, or correct to say, that it's on hold and that we're only beginning to do all these things when there's a new building.
Dr. Levinowitz.
I just wanted to commend Mr. Leckman again for his other financial reports document, which is new to the district. And I think for the last 3 or 4 months, on page 1, it says the assumption is a 2% tax increase for the next year and going out further years. And I think that's a starting point for me, is the 2%. But again, I really urge the community to look at these new, they're not new anymore, but the new reports that Mr. Leckman has designed, and they are extremely, extremely helpful to understand the budget process.
I'd also like to make one comment about the PSSA and Keystone scores. So as the board knows, the Pennsylvania Department of Education has told us not to compare to previous years or to districts. That being said, we did some analysis of our data, and at the Education Committee meeting, we are going to present how our district fared in comparison to our peer districts. And our peer districts are not just located here in Montgomery County. There are some districts in Montgomery County that are our peer districts, but there are peer districts in Delaware County, Chester County, and out in Allegheny County, and one up in Washington County. So it will be at the next Education Committee meeting in just a few weeks that we share that comparative data.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Next on our agenda, we have our upcoming meetings. We are going to be meeting, as Dr. Yanni just mentioned, the Education Committee will be held Wednesday, April 6th at 6 p.m., followed by the Policy Committee meeting at 7, or obviously immediately following the Education Committee. On Wednesday, April 20th, we will have our Finance Committee meeting at 6 p.m. meeting. So once again, I don't see any other hands that need to make comments. So this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for being here and for tuning in online.